Hi, welcome to the ninth episode of the podcast, The Starlight Podium. I'm your host Varun, and today we are diving deep into a fascinating and rapidly evolving domain that has become undoubtedly important in this era of AI, that is, prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is a pivotal skill in the world of AI, especially with the rise of generative AI tools like GPT-3, GPT-4, Bard, and Gemini. These models rely heavily on the quality of the prompts they receive to generate accurate and relevant outputs. As AI tools become integral to our work and within various industries, the demand for skilled prompt engineers is booming. They are the architects behind the scenes, crafting precise and effective prompts to train and fine tune these AI models. This field is not just about understanding AI, but it's also about bridging the gap between human intent and machine understanding. Despite its growing importance, however, prompt engineering often lacks the recognition it deserves, with not many fully understanding or appreciating the critical role it plays. Also, many aspiring professionals who are keen to explore this career path have been finding themselves at a loss due to the very limited knowledge available about the role and the requirements of prompt engineer, as it's a novel and dynamic field. Today's episode aims to shed light on this emerging field and provide more clarity on what it entails. And in order to guide us through this topic, joining us today is Sourabh Acharya, a prompt engineer at NVIDIA, a man and friend with a very curious mind, a wide range of interests, and with a rich and diverse background in writing, AI, and machine learning. Saurabh's journey is truly inspiring. Hailing from Chhattisgarh, he began his career in fiction and creative writing, transitioning into professional writing in 2017, and his curiosity and passion for learning led him to explore the world of AI, eventually landing a role as a prompt engineer at NVIDIA. Beyond his professional life, Saurabh is also deeply engaged in sports and performance arts. Given the enormity of this topic, this episode is being broken into two parts. In this part 1 of the episode, we will be exploring several aspects about the role of a prompt engineer, such as understanding the role of prompt engineers on a day to day basis and the essence of prompt engineering, the day to day tasks, roles, and responsibilities that prompt engineers carry out in their organizations, essential skills for a career in prompt engineering, and the typical workflow of projects. And lastly, the demand for prompt engineers, particularly in India, and insights into how you can build a successful profile that can lead you into this field. Whether you're an aspiring prompt engineer or simply curious about the inner workings of generative AI, this episode is packed with valuable insights and practical advice. So, let's get started and learn from one of the experts in this field. Hi, Saurabh. Good afternoon and welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much, Varun. I have been really good. How are you? And
I'm doing well and I'm just very excited for this session. And firstly, thank you very much for making the time to be here to discuss this really incredibly important topic on prompt engineering. I really believe this is going to be a really helpful session for working professionals like ourselves and other people as well who need to use these these rapidly developing AI tools. I've been really wanting to do this session for a long time with someone like you who's got the experience. So really happy to have you here today.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here.
All right, so let's not waste any more time because we've got a lot of questions and a lot of topics on our plate today. All right, so before we jump into the meat of the session, let's start with learning a little more about you. So if you can start with just introducing yourself, telling us a bit about from where you are, what you do. Also, you can go outside work and also talk about outside of outside work, what you like to do. Just tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah. Okay. So I am basically from Chhattisgarh. I have my
Okay.
roots here. I've had all my education, all my schooling, all my graduation, and all of my schooling from uh, Chhattisgarh itself. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I am Sourabh Acharya, and my diverse, and I have a quite diverse background when it comes to my professional career, or even outside of my professional career, I have a very diverse background, which started with writing, right? That began as an interest, that began as a passion for fiction and creative writing, right? Initially with poetry and short stories, and that eventually transformed into a professional career, or I transitioned into professional writing in 2017, right? Since then, I have never looked back. I have co-authored a few books. I have
Nice.
worked in various roles in the content domain. So I started initially with blogs, right? Then I switched to multiple other domains. Uh, After that, and right now, right, with the kind of a curious person that I am, with the surge in AI and machine learning, I eventually landed into prompt engineering, and currently I am working with NVIDIA as a prompt engineer. And yeah, that is it about my professional journey. Apart from that, I have a very keen interest in sports. I have played sports at a really professional level. Apart from that, I am into performance poetry and performance arts of all kinds. I have done that throughout my academics, throughout my career so far. I still do that, right? Apart from prompt engineering on content writing. So overall, if you sum up the entire introduction, right, it will be probably a creative person, a really creative person. I wouldn't say stuck, but a creative person hustling to make it in the content world, right? Trying to use the most of what the skills and what the talent is.
Mm. Very, very diverse background, I'll say. Like even in terms of professional career as well as your hobbies and interests. You mentioned you co-authored some books. Like what were they like specific to poems, or was it specific to any of your work?
Initially, when I transitioned into professional writing, right, that's where I got a knack of understanding what goes behind publishing, what goes behind the business, what goes behind the industry of publishing. Right, that made me curious again to probably create something that may help me get deeper into the process. Right, that may help me get a better understanding of the process. I had always been a very spontaneous writer, very prompt writer. So I always had something, right, that could be published, that just needed some kind of a refinement or some kind of a help, right, that could make it publishing worthy. So I had my first book that came out. It came out in 2018, right, when I was 20 years old. My first book came out then. I became the youngest traditionally published author from Chhattisgarh with that book.
Wow.
After that, I co-authored a few. After the first book, that was my first book. Ever, right? I had not co-authored any books by then. It was my first book at ever. Then after that, I transitioned into co-authoring a few books with a few writers. I have co-authored in English as well as Hindi. I have I have quite a good hold in both the languages. So I did that. The domains. The initially I started with poetry. My first book was a collection of poetry, English poetry. Then from there I moved to short stories. Then we did a full-fledged collection of short stories with a few other authors. And I co-authored with another author. I have also been a part of an international anthology where only we had there were just two writers from India in that book. There were 25, I think, other writers who were a part of that book. It was from Robert Barrett's publishing that came out again in 2019. That came out. So overall, I have like close to 14 books that I have co-authored, and two books that I've authored on my own.
Wow. 40, like, wow, that's amazing. That's a pretty long list. I mean, I have to say, like, you're a really, really active and curious person. I mean, that's how you've built such a strong background, such a diverse background, I'll say, across different interests and professional career. So, okay, that was a lot. So now moving into your present role, as well as you mentioned, like after a pretty diverse string of experiences, now you've landed at NVIDIA as a prompt engineer. Like you decided to jump into prompt engineering. So can you share your journey on, what factors or what experiences made you decide to move into prompt engineering, and then how you eventually landed at NVIDIA?
Yeah. Okay, so my journey into prompt engineering has been quite an exciting and dynamic one, I'd say. Uh, Again, it all began with my interest for writing, right? It all began with my interest for fiction writing, or for creative writing, right? So that's where it all began, right? That's where the creative foundation was built or nurtured, I'd say, right? After that, when I started in 2017, right, I did not have a lot of idea how things work in the content industry. What are the other opportunities that a person can go for when it comes to content writing, right? So when I transitioned into professional writing, right, initially I started with blogs, as I mentioned, with a PR agency, with a media agency. From there, again, as I mentioned, as a curious person, I kept on looking for newer opportunities, newer domains to explore, newer things to try, right? So that led me to healthcare industry, writing for healthcare industry, then writing for the tech industry, then writing for education, lifestyle, entertainment, and I've written the most exciting one was writing for extended reality. Right? I worked as for a extended reality company, writing for them. That's where my interest grew for upcoming technology, for my interests in knowing more about what's the
Mhm.
future technology that's going to come or that's going to change the world, right? That kind of grew there. So from there, right, it broadened my perspective about what things could be tried, right, and also honed my ability kind of to adapt to different writing styles, working on all these things. So my inclination, just the only reason, my inclination to try new things, right, and basically continually improve my skills, or basically to something that could play a significant role in my career development, right. That thing brought me to know more, right? Or that thing began that kind of curiosity, right? To know more about AI and machine learning, a technology that's surging today in today's day and age, where everywhere in every aspect, every field, you see and you find that AI and machine learning, these kind of things are one of the most exciting things, right, that come up, right? So just to feel that joy, right, just to understand this topic better, uh, I landed this opportunity, right, where it also aligned with my goals, right, of probably looking for a better opportunity or trying something that is upcoming, right. So I think my creative abilities, as well as my curiosity to know more about the technologies that come up, kind of landed me here, right? Also, being a prompt engineer is a very creative challenge. Although it may sound like a very technical role, very technical job, right? But it is what I'd if I'd have to put prompt engineering into simpler words, it is a great mixture of art and science both, right? It is a great mixture of your creative abilities, as well as your technical understanding or technical prowess in certain things, right? So that's what brought me here, right? And as it is an emerging technology, I knew that there would be constant learning, right? Whenever I come into this, whenever I try something new, whenever I go about a project as a prompt engineer, it will all be a constant learning, because this is nothing that you would have ever worked before, right, ever worked on
Mhm.
before, because this is a new technology, this is a new kind of a challenge, right? And also with the surging technology, it would be impactful, right? Another point that I'd say brought me here is I knew it would be impactful, and it would not just be probably shooting in the dark. It will create a result that will help the technology, right, building the technology later. So probably that is the role, right? The culmination of all these aspects that brought me here to NVIDIA as a prompt engineer. And yeah, since then it has been a learning experience, and whatever I expected, whatever I just mentioned, is if more, it's nothing is less than what I expected. There are more things to learn apart from this, but there's nothing less than what I mentioned, and it has been a great learning experience being a prompt engineer.
Fantastic. One curious question I had. So again, you mentioned a lot about having spent time doing content writing for different within different domains like healthcare, right? Now and then, eventually you heard about these booming technologies like AI and machine learning, and after that, that made you decide on going towards the side of AI and eventually prompt engineering. But when you got this opportunity, like to apply to NVIDIA, were they looking for people who had experience in those fields like AI, machine learning? Because at least until then, you did not have any major experience, right, in those domains. So how did that work out? Because at least from what generally we think, if someone is looking for prompt engineers, they would be expecting someone with a background in AI or ML, right? Because that plays heavily into this domain. So how did it work out for you?
Okay, so prompt engineers are supposed to create the primary requirement of a prompt engineer from a prompt engineer is to create data for the AI models, for the text generative AI models, or for just generative AI models, and to train them, right? So
Mm-hmm.
these are the two main requirements from a, or main expectations from a prompt engineer. Now, the primary one here is for you to train the AI model, you'll need data, right? You'll need content that you'll need to create. You'll need to feed the AI model so that it ends up giving you your ideal responses or your ideal output that you are seeking from the AI model. Now, someone who has a technical understanding of things will be able to train the AI model based on the content that they have, right? But
Mm-hmm.
as a prompt engineer, you are also supposed to source that content, create that content, or curate that content, right? That is also one of
Mm-hmm.
your responsibilities. So when this opportunity came in, the primary requirement was people with content experience or linguistic experiences who can help us curate, create, or source content for the AI models, right? That and that data, the data that needs to be collected in order to train the AI models, right? So for that, they needed someone who has a content experience, who has an expertise in creating content, who has an expertise in creating quality content. So basically, when you create quality content and you feed the AI model with these data and you train the AI models with these data, they will give you quality output. They will give you what the specific thing that you're looking for, or specific output that you're looking for, right?
Okay, got
Compared
it.
to compared to if someone who is not into the technical background, who's not into the linguistic from a linguistic background, they may end up creating the content, they may end up training the model, but it may be a possibility that it won't be very specific to what the person is looking for. Because as content writers, one of our requirements in throughout our career has been writing according to what the demand of the reader, demand of the audience is, right? Understanding
Hmm.
what the audience wants. That thing helps a lot when it comes to prompt engineering. The second criteria that I said, training the AI model, that is where you will need a lot of coding experience, right? Some kind of a coding language you must know, right? Or some kind of an experience in AI and ML that you would know, that you would need, right? So those kind of roles are there, right? In the world, in a lot of other companies, in the job market, these kind of opportunities are there where the coding skills are required, right? Where you need to train the AI models using the data that you would create, right, as a prompt engineer. So here, as a prompt engineer, the main requirement was to create the data, because of which uh, content experts were preferred rather than people
I
who could write content and as well as code, right? So here, coding was not the preference. Probably the more higher or better quality content experience was preferred, because of which uh,
it
even if
makes sense.
someone like me, yeah, someone like me who did not have any experience in coding and in AI and machine learning, we could land this job because the amount of data that we were expected to create, that we are creating at this point, right, beats the speed at which the AI models will be trained. So as much data as we create, there are people out there in the world, there are prompt engineers out there in the world, or they're simply not prompt engineers but simply software engineers right out there, or coders out there, who can use the data that we create, right, to train the AI models, simply to train the AI models. It becomes easier. Yeah, it is always better to be a prompt engineer with a coding experience, because you can train your own AI model with your own created data, right? But with NVIDIA right now, what NVIDIA was looking for is content writers, or probably content experts, who could handle technology slightly, right? Even if we had a
Hmm.
slight knowledge about how technology works, basics of how technology works, that was it, right? Content
Okay.
experience was the primary criteria here. So that's
Got it.
what landed us here.
Got it. And I'm guessing that even after you landed like in the job, they must have definitely trained you on some of these technologies as well, just so that you also have a better understanding on how these things work on the technical side, right? Yeah, which makes sense. But that is nice to know. Like, I mean, I think that is where that understanding was lacking. Like, is it just purely knowing AI and ML that helps make a good prompt engineer? But you have really shared some very nice insight on what companies are actually looking for in prompt engineers, which is something I was going to also get to later on in this conversation. All right, but that was interesting to know. And now, like diving deeper into the topic of prompt engineers, right? So, like, firstly, I feel for sure that prompt engineers are the, like, what you say, unsung heroes behind this rise of generative AI, because they have played a pivotal role in crafting these precise prompts to train these AI models, based on which when we are providing inputs, it's able to give us good results. So, but before I like dive into what prompt engineers do, right? I want to give the audience a better understanding of what prompt engineering is at a like in very simple terms. So, based on your experience, could you tell us like what prompt engineering is all about?
Yeah. See, it's in very. I explain it in very simple terms, right? So that even anyone who is not even aware about ChatGPT as a
Hmm.
model, right, or as a tool, would understand. So basically, from my experience so far, from what I've understood, from what I have known, right, prompt engineering is about creatively and strategically crafting inputs, right? Crafting
Mm-hmm.
inputs uh, to guide AI models, various AI models, in generating accurate and relevant outputs. Right. So that is what the requirement as a prompt engineer is, to creatively as well as strategically craft inputs, right? To give those inputs, to craft these, right? Also, it is a blend of linguistic skill, right? Of a technical prowess as well as a technical understanding. Right. If you lack in any one of these things, it may be possibility that you may not end up being a good prompt engineer. Right. And continuous learning is something that can't stop because the technology is growing by the day, right? Because there is an update in the artificial intelligence, there is an update in the machine learning, there is an update, or there is some kind of a change, some kind of an evolution in the LLM or NLP technologies, right? So these kind of things will eventually end up making AI more effective, right? More effective and more useful for the people, right? So what prompt
Hmm.
engineers eventually do is they make AI models more effective and useful for you by whatever they do with it, whatever the input that they give it, right? So basically, every model like Chat GPT, like a Bard, right? uh, or any probably any image generative AI or video generative AI, right? Anything that goes behind them, the behind the scenes of these models, right, are made sure that the processes, the setup, the data, the output that a person gets is perfect, is to the point of what they are seeking, and that is made sure by prompt engineers, right? Behind the scenes of all these models. So that is what prompt engineers do, right? In a nutshell.
All right. So that was now from a perspective of like what prompt engineers do, and you did mention that they are involved in creating those strategic and very precise prompts that can guide the behavior of these AI models. Now, let's say from a perspective of working professionals, right? If I were to see this as a skill for let's say working professional or people from any occupation, how would you define prompt engineering as a skill?
As a skill, as a skill,
Hmm.
prompt engineering is nothing unlike any other job. I'll tell you, prompt engineering may sound like a very technical thing, may sound like a very tough thing to achieve or probably tough thing to learn, but it is not. Right? Prompt engineering is something that can be learned by anyone, that can be done by anyone. Right? It does not see coding, learning coding in today's day and age is not a very tough nut to crack. Right? Back in the day, it may have been a thing where we did not have accessibility to courses, we did not have accessibility to data online, right? And coding was difficult. Today, even learning coding is not that difficult. So prompt engineering as a skill is something that can be acquired by anyone, right? I just say it, right, on record, that anyone can be a prompt engineer. It does not matter what background do you have, right? What kind of academics that you have done in your career, in your life, right? And what is it that you have worked on? Even if you have worked as a writer, right? Being a writer, if I can become a prompt engineer, right, with no AI and ML experience, right, then it is something, probably any engineer or any person from a creative or a non-creative background, anyone can get into prompt engineering. Just that
Hmm.
understanding, or basically just letting your creative prowess or your creative understanding or your creative skills, right, just uh, nourishing it, right, improving it, refining that kind of that bit, right, learning a little bit of coding, right, and that would be it. So prompt engineering as a skill, prompt engineering as a job requires no extra education, nothing like that, right? If you have the skills needed for prompt engineering, you can be a prompt engineer. And skills, as I mentioned, can be either creative writing or just basically content prowess and technical understanding of things, right? Because coding is something that you can learn, right? That is not something that is very technical. If you have slight bit of technical understanding, coding is something that you can learn. There are multiple sources, multiple courses, right, where you can learn. So these things are the only requirement as a prompt engineer. It does not require you to be from a reputed engineering college, to be from a reputed MBA college or something like that. It does not require all of that.
Hmm. All right. Yeah, that perfectly makes sense. All right. My but a slight, like an add-on to that. So what I was also seeking was, for example, if I'm telling working professionals, like as a skill to use on their job, they have to learn prompt engineering, right? So what does
Okay.
prompt engineering imply in that instance? Like for them
Oh.
as a skill, what prompt engineering implies is something I want to understand, because you did mention, like, as
Hmm.
prompt engineers, you craft
Yeah.
prompts and data, right?
Hmm.
That has to guide AI behavior.
Okay.
So as a working professional, if you tell me that prompt engineering is a skill I need to learn, what does that imply for me?
Hmm.
Like, what is the skill all about,
Okay.
and how will I use it? Yeah.
Yeah. See, today, I don't think there would be even one job, one role, or one responsibility where in the professional domain where people are not using generative AI. Right? From marketing to sales, we could notice each and every person using at least ChatGPT, right, for some kind of the thing or other. Maybe probably writing mails, right, or creating sales pitches, or writing marketing copies, or taking help in writing marketing copies. It is just needed, right? Now,
Mhm.
we have done our work as prompt engineers, right? We have created the inputs, and we have made sure that the outputs that you will get will be according to whatever you're seeking, right? Now, what your question is, how will they be able to use it, prompt engineering as a skill, in their day-to-day job, right, so that they can use these prompt engineering this prompt engineering entirely useful, right, in their job. So I'll tell you, learning the very basics of prompt engineering, that is learning prompting, right? Here we are not
Mhm.
expecting anything from people, just learning basic prompting. That is something that is available all over the internet, right? Basic prompting will help them get whatever they are seeking. So I think in today's day and age, every person who is on a job, not even on a job, freelancers to people who are self-employed, everyone should learn this bit of prompting. Again, we'll also get to that, I think, in the conversation where we talk about prompting. But prompting is something that I think everyone has to know a little, because it is helpful in today's day and age. Because I've seen a lot of colleagues in sales who are using ChatGPT to probably create more engaging or more probably curiosity inducing pitches, right? Or probably more better or refined marketing copies when it comes to marketing people, right? So I've seen the chat gpt being used or other AI models being used for that, right? And now with all major companies creating their own gen AI models or gen AI tools, right, it is becoming more and more you have more and more options right today to try your skills in that. So what I feel there is, it is not a very technical understanding that they need to have. It is not a very technical knowledge that they need to have, or to probably learn how prompting works, right? You can probably read just one article on the internet and you will know what is something that you need to do as a person on a day job, right? To use prompt engineering in their day-to-day job to help them either get better at their jobs, right, or to get better outputs, better results at what they're doing or whatever they're seeking with their jobs. So prompt engineering is helpful in each and every aspect because we have seen that happening. It's not something that we are expecting to happen in the future. It is happening in today's day, right? It is happening. People are doing it. Just that a little bit more awareness, a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more learning about the technology will just make probably automate everything. And yeah, just let me make it clear after the end at the end of this answer, AI is not going to take your jobs, because AI is not going to take your jobs. I'll tell you why AI is not going to take your jobs. Because if you can be one step ahead of AI, if you know how to use AI to be better at your job, AI won't take your job. If you will not step up, if you'll not try to be one step ahead of AI, it can be a possibility that AI may end up challenging your role or challenging your job or challenging your position. Still, it will give you an opportunity to be a step ahead when it gives you that warning that it can replace you. But AI can't replace you because we have created it, we are refining it, we are improving it, and we have the responsibility to learn. Right? We have the ability to learn. When we have the ability to learn, the responsibility also comes on us to learn, to be updated, to be to be one step ahead, as I mentioned, right? When you are one step ahead of anything in this world, right? Not just it has not happened for the first time with AI. When internet came in, when computer came in, people always thought that it could take people's jobs, but it just helped people in their jobs. It never took their jobs. Similarly, AI may sound like it can take your jobs because it does things autonomously, right? Behind that autonomous process is also a process where people are helping, where humans are helping AI to evolve, to work autonomously. So when you are learning, or when you are trying, when you are getting behind AI and learning why is it working autonomously, and how can I learn that autonomous process, and how can I use that autonomous process to help me in my processes, AI won't be able to replace you at like any given day.
Perfect. Yeah. First of all, thanks for alleviating that fear. I think that has been a question that has been floated around for for the past 1 or 2 years, I believe. Like I think that's part of almost every promotional campaign nowadays for any AI course as well. Like, is AI going to take your job or not?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, I think no one better to answer that question than a person who is like involved in training these AI models. Yeah. So that makes it crystal clear about how prompt engineering as a skill is important for us as working professionals and also for other people, like in any other occupation. So now coming to talk about prompt engineers, right? So can you start with understanding, like, since you work as a prompt engineer on a day-to-day basis, how does your day look? Like, what are the tasks, roles, and responsibilities that you like mainly carry out?
Yeah. Okay. My day is filled with a variety of tasks, right? Variety of responsibilities that require also the most primary thing as a writer, as a prompt engineer, is the keen eye for detail, right? Attention to detail is something that is the primary requirement, right? Now, in the morning when we log in, right, or when we start our work, right, whatever the project that we are working on, we go through the guidelines and the SOP for the project once again, because it can be a possibility that it may get a revision or it may have been updated, right, by the stakeholders, by the customers, anyone, right? Now align with the team, have a discussion with the team. If there are any revisions, or if there are any daily goals and tasks that need to be performed, what is the priority for the day. We go about that, discuss, right? Now, when if whatever the project is, right, can be textual, it can be again video or image, it can be around anything, right, or probably audio. So we look, then the next discussion or the next process is to curate that data, right? To either we need to source it from somewhere, we need to create it. It depends on the project, right? So we look for what is the next process. Are we supposed to source data from somewhere? If we need to source the data from somewhere, what are the sources? We collect that or compile a list of that. If we have to create the data, we look at the guidelines multiple times, trying to understand what the requirement is, right? And while doing all that, the primary requirement for us is to ensure that the quality of the data, right, is top notch, right, and also relevant to the what the model, what the project requirement is for the to train the AI model, right? Because whenever we are creating something, curating something, we are making sure that we are keeping in mind that this data will be used to train an AI model. This is very critical and will eventually uh, land in someone on someone's screen when they look for a response, right? So that is something that is very critical, right? Then then the process, the main process comes, that is crafting the prompts, right, for whatever data that we have, right? If even if we are sourcing it from somewhere, even if we are creating it, right, we develop that data, we refine it, right, based on the requirement of the project, based on what the ideal output should be, based on what the quality that we are looking for, right? Then test it on different tools that we are given, right, and test and probably reiterate on prompts and improve the model performance based on the guideline that we have, right? Now, another aspect as a prompt engineer is, even if you are a content expert, you will need slight knowledge in technology, because there will be a tool utilization that you'll need, right? There has to be a tool where you will be working. So if you lack somewhere in the technical understanding, it may become slightly tough or slightly challenging for you to understand the process. So tool utilization is another part of the process, right, where we keep updating ourselves, learning the tool every day. Like there's a slight understanding every day. There's something that comes up every day, because the tool is new to us. Not just new to us, but also to the stakeholders, to the customers, because we are working on these projects for the first time, right? So these tools are new as well, right? So get adapt with these tools and technologies, right? There are different softwares we use for data annotation, prompt testing, right, or model evaluation. We go about these tools, right? And then attention to detail, as I mentioned, attention to detail is constant through all these processes. Attention to
Yeah.
detail, we keep on being very attentive during our work, because nothing can go unnoticed, nothing can go probably in an imperfect way to to the stakeholder, or to where whoever will be using the data to train the AI models later, right? So we are always trying align our prompts, align our inputs, align our content on the project guidelines and the quality standards that stakeholder seeks, right? And although it is a very autonomous thing, being a prompt engineer is a very autonomous thing, where you where not a lot of, it may sound like it may not need a lot of teamwork, because again it depends on your skills at the end of the day, but because of for what you are creating, you are responsible for what you are creating. But cross-functional team communication is a very important aspect as a prompt engineer, because you get to learn a lot, because every person who is a creative person, every person who is writing a content, that is subjective, right? There will be different opinions, there will be different styles, there will be different
Yeah.
ways of doing things. You What you can do is you can learn from those ways, you can adapt yourself, you can improve your style, you can learn a thing or two from someone and probably integrate it with your process and make your process better. You can help others better their process, because eventually it is, even if it is an autonomous process, it eventually leads up to the quality of the project, eventually boils down to how what will the entire the whole output of the project. So cross functional communication is also one thing that is very important. We keep on communicating among the team, right, among the team members in the project. We always keep learning from each other, we always clear doubts among each other if we have any, right? Because all of us come from creative backgrounds, right? So it becomes important to probably help someone who may be slightly weak understanding technology, right? It can be someone who is probably good at technology, may lack slightly or maybe slightly less experience in writing a certain domain, because again there are multiple domains in content in prompt engineering as well, right? So if someone, there's a probably a data that's related to healthcare, someone may not be well aware about the terms that used there, jargon used there. Right? Someone may be a little who has probably worked. As I've worked in healthcare, I know probably a lot of terms that can be used or that are used in. So I may help someone, like someone who has worked in probably technology, someone who has worked in gaming, right? Someone who may have worked in sports, right? Who has sports written for sports before. They may have a different kind of understanding of things. This way, the cross-functional communication is also very important. And at the end of the day, we again we have a team sync where we discuss our learnings of the day, whatever we achieved. If we could not achieve, what were the challenges? We try and find the root cause of those challenges and also the preventive actions for that, so that we can get better. Because eventually, when we are working autonomously, the entire responsibility comes on us as prompt
Hmm.
engineers, right? Who are creating these Gen AI models, who are creating data for these Gen AI models, to identify and understand if there are processes that are working as bottlenecks or probably blockers, and to identify them and try and find a way. Because if we could literally find a way to or basically if we can find a solution to people's queries or people's prompts, right? We can absolutely come together and help each other identify challenges and help and find solutions for them when it comes to their when it comes to our own workplace, right? So that is something that happens. So it is again challenging, it is very dynamic, and it is very exciting when it comes to, because every day there's a new thing that comes up, right? It is
Yeah.
not a usual. It may sound like a very technical thing from a third person perspective, but it is challenging but very exciting, because you always get to learn something new. And it is very exciting because the guidelines usually change very, very, very frequently, right? For every project, because the requirement changes by the day, right? Every little change in data set that we get, these guidelines keep changing. So that's how the day looks like. And every day while when we log out, right, we have this kind of a contentment that we have achieved something, we have learned something new by the day, right? Since the day when we log in the moment when we log in today, and when we're logging out, there's something that we have learned, right? Because as content writers, we never got to interact with technology this closely, right? Or affect or
Hmm.
impact technology this closely. There was always some kind of a data that was going out, some kind of an article, some kind of a probably a news article, some kind of a blog, some kind of probably an email, right, or some kind of a yellow paper that was going out, some kind of a newsletter that was going out, and we knew it was affecting a few people. But now we know that whatever we are doing is affecting a lot of people, right? Almost everyone who is a working professional, it is affecting the work that we are doing.
I mean, I think there is a lot of learning, collaboration, communication that that's a part of your day-to-day job. But I mean, yeah, that was a really holistic overview of what you typically do in a day. And like again, you mentioned a lot of points in between, like communication was key, attention to detail was very key, using like learning technologies was key. So if I ask you about, what skills do you employ on a day-to-day basis? When I say skills, it could mean soft skills as well as it could be technical skills. Could you mention some of them? Like, what are these key skills that you use on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, yeah. See, my answer will be again a mixture of soft skills as well as hard skills that
Yeah,
a person may
I
require
guess brief
to
helps. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So when it comes to soft skills, right, as I keep mentioning again in all of my answers, attention to detail is very, very, very important, right? You can't ignore that bit. Attention to detail, it can be either meticulously reviewing what you have created, refining it, right, or probably ensuring that is aligned with whatever the requirement is, right? The curiosity and the need to continuously learn is another skill, right? You can't be just static. You can't just start working and feel like I know everything, right? Because whatever you know is probably just what you are seeing on the surface. There is a lot under the sea, right, that you are probably missing, right, that you need to dive deeper into just to know more about it, right? So just that eagerness to learn is something that is a primary requirement again, right? Just to be on the same page of what the project requirement is, of what the people are seeking, right? Creative thinking is what I think is another important aspect, right? Until unless you think creatively, it can be slightly that you may end up creating something that even AI would even AI would be able to create, right? Because what you creating as a human is something that should be used to create to train the AI model. But if you are what you're creating, it sounds like AI itself, right? Then there's no it does not again fulfills the it does not fulfill the requirement, right? To fulfill the demands of the entire thing, the entire process, right? Coming to hard
Mhm.
skills, understanding NLP, right? Natural language processing, right? Is a primary aspect, right? That is something that can be learned, that can be learned from anywhere. That there are multiple sources on the internet, there are multiple courses where you can have the NLP course, right? Where you can understand this, and it is not something that is very technical. That is something anyone who probably understands English will be able to understand what is NLP, right? So the understanding NLP concepts and technology and techniques is something that is one requirement. Although that is something you can also learn on the fly as you keep working, right? And the ability to craft and refine prompts, that is also something that you can learn, right? On the go is not a tough thing. Technical writing is something that I'd say is the primary requirement. That is something that is the most important requirement, most important, the vital requirement in this case. Right? If you if you're getting if you want to get into prompt engineering, and if you are into writing, just try your hands on technical writing. Just try and understand what the nitty gritties of technical writing is, what are the peculiarities of technical writing is, right? So that will help you understand, probably communicate complex ideas in simpler ways. That will help you uh, uh, again, as I said, right, be more specific, whatever you're seeking, right, whatever you're writing, right? And one other thing is data annotation today, in today's day and age. There are a lot of platforms, there are a lot of companies giving you opportunities to learn data annotation, like through freelancing projects, where freelancing platforms, where you don't need to be a prompt engineer. You can simply sign up there, uh, go about a few projects, learn data annotation, right? There are multiple different types of data sets where they help you probably annotating textual or visual or audio data, right, based on whatever the availability is, right? So these kinds, the data annotation helps you later become a good prompt engineer, because that is a primary requirement that also needs a little bit of your speed as well as quality, right? Both these things are important. Tool proficiency is something that you only learn when you get into the project. But yeah, being adept, being up to date with what how to use the technology. If you know the basics of using uh, probably a computer, right, or probably using the internet, probably using or the tools that are used in day to day life, right? For example, if you know how to Google search properly, that's where your thing starts, right? That's where your curiosity starts. If you know how to Google search, because there were no text generative AI prompts, right, back in the day, but 2 years back, right, there were not. So if you knew how to get the best results searching on Google, right, that thing builds your foundation there, because now you'll adapt to how to do it in prompt engineering, right? So these were the hard skills. There's another soft skill that I'd say is communication, right? That communication is very important, because being in a nutshell, you can't learn everything that's out there in the world, right? You need to communicate with people who know about it, right? Who may have worked on those things, refining those things for years, right, or for months. So that is one important thing, right? And by the day, as you see AI changing, right, there is very less time at hand, right? There is not a lot of time for you to keep updating yourself, or keep looking for changes in it, right? You need to be on the fly. You need to be very, very, very dynamic and spontaneous when learning. So time management, right, understanding the things changing, that is very important, right? And this can only be done when you are while you are working, you know how to multitask, right? If you are multitask, you can manage your time properly. You can communicate, you can collaborate, and you can make sure that whatever you're working on, whatever you're creating, is of the best quality, and at the end of your process, you are sure, or you are very well aware that what you have created is of the best quality, and no one else in this world, no other prompt engineer can create the quality that you have created, right? So when that is the feeling that you have after you have done, after you have completed your process, is what I feel will end up making a good prompt engineer, right? Yeah,
All
that's it.
right. Yeah. Uh, I think I got a clear gist of it, like in terms of soft skills, hard skills, and even technical skills. And just to get this out of the way, so even in terms of technical skills, you mentioned stuff like data annotation, technical writing, NLP. In terms of programming, like, is it good to have knowledge of programming languages like Python, R, or that can be something that can be learned after getting onto the job and prioritizing the key skills that you mentioned first?
See, yeah, these key skills that I mentioned were are the is I tell you the primary requirement. Why? And
See,
coding languages also, although that is important for you to land a job as a prompt engineer, or to add another prowess, add another skill to your prompt engineering skill, right? Your prompt engineering skill will require you to create better prompts, right? Just to integrate it better. See, when you know your coding, when you know your programming languages, right, you would know how, or you can probably predict how the AI model will react, right, or respond. You can predict that when you have worked as a when you know programming languages, right? When you have worked in those things, when you know coding, right? You will know as a probably that is something that can be slightly missing someone who has a content experience, who has a content expertise. You may not know how the AI model will respond or react to the input that you are giving. Right? You
mhm,
are trying your best to create the data that is 100% perfect, 100% aligned with whatever the requirement is. But it is not, but you're not sure how the AI model will respond, even if you are 100% confident on your data that you've created. If you're not
mhm,
100% sure, that is where your requirement, that is where your need to know the programming languages come. Because when you're creating your own data, and you know how, and you can predict how the AI models will respond, you will end up saving a lot of your time, a lot of your effort, in not coming back and trying to correct those prompts, or correct that data based on how AI model is responding. Right? You can just do it on the fly. You can just do it right now. Go to the AI model, train it, integrate the data, right? Or based on whatever you have, and you won't need to correct it, or you won't need to do the course correction each and every time, right? When you do the process. So yes, programming language is always a plus, right? It's always a plus.
okay, fine, got it.
It does not require you to essentially know it, because eventually you are just creating prompts, right? And even if you don't know programming languages properly, you can simply learn these skills, because I think learning programming languages, or learning that, can be done by a course, right? That can be done by a course. Creative writing, attention to detail, right? Or probably learning how to understand an LP and its behaviors. That is something that takes time, right?
Mhm.
You can just not start writing today, and in a month's time you will be a good creative writer. Right? You can't be, right? That is something that can be a problem, right?
See,
So
I got it. Yeah.
that is something that, yeah, so this will be a bonus, that skill will be a bonus, but this is the primary requirement that you need to have.
All right. Makes sense. Yeah. Moving on. Now, you did mention, like, when you were explaining about your roles and tasks, and also at the start when you were giving a description of prompt engineering, you did mention some points on, the kind of stuff you work on, like on a day-to-day basis. Like you mentioned video, you like work on models with respect to video, image, text, right? So at a high, at again very high level, and we don't need to maybe go into details over here to overwhelm. But if you can, like, can you give us like a idea of what kind of projects you work on, like just at a high level, like what are the kind of projects generally you will be involved in?
Hmm. Yeah. So the projects that basically the difference, or the variety that is there, right, in terms of different types of projects or works is based on the different kinds of data, right? Different kinds of
Mm-hmm.
data, right?
Okay.
That is basically, it can be either text, can be visual, it can be audio, right? Visual may include both images and videos. So that is where the difference is, right? The processes more or less remain the same, right? The process,
Okay.
the SOP that we follow, but these are the kinds of data that we use, right? That we use in different kinds of projects. So that is only a difference, right? Most of the projects
Okay.
requirement end up being the same, creating the quality output, but it is just in the difference of types of data, right? As I mentioned, be it text,
Got it.
visual, or audio.
Got it. Okay. So that's interesting. All right. So okay, more or less your process to train. Okay, so I think this is where the training part of the model comes in. So more or less your process to train the model remains same. It's only the only difference lies in what kind of data you're going to be feeding in. All right,
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, and I think we'll anyways be getting to the training of the model, so we can discuss that process over there. So now, interesting question. All right, like I'm pretty sure in the past 1 year you must have seen all these ads on YouTube where they are like, prompt engineers are earning like 2 to 3 crores every year, and there is high demand, right, all over the place. So, from your understanding of the market, based on your conversation with your peers and other industry peers, right, can you tell us like what do you feel is the demand for prompt engineers right now, and let's say specifically in India to start with?
See, the demand for prompt engineers in the job market is currently like at the peak, right? That it is at the highest and it is growing, right? There's no
Okay.
stopping right now, because every day, yeah, if I'm a prompt engineer and if I am on LinkedIn, if I'm on any other portal, they keep on sending me notifications, and every day I have a new notification from a new company that is looking for a prompt engineer. Right? Today, when prompt engineering looks like a very technical role, companies that are non-technical, that are into probably academics, that are into education, that are into healthcare, that are into production, that are into services, right? That are into telecom. Every company is looking for a prompt engineer, right? And as a reason, with it is only and only because of the surge, because of the excitement, because of the curiosity AI and machine learning have created, right, over the past few months, past few years, right? So, and as these technologies advance, right, companies across various industries that are looking for skilled professionals in these kind of technologies, be it AI or natural language processing, if I be specific. And every company is integrating AI into their organizations, into their organizational processes, right? So it becomes necessary to get someone who has an expertise, right? Expertise to optimize these model performances for them, right? And with the diverse applications, the kind of diverse applications AI has right now, as we look at it, right, even from a broader perspective, be it in healthcare, finance, right, technology, customer service is something that is again very exciting opportunity, that where prompt engineering is coming in, right? So it
Yeah.
creating very broad need for prompt engineering skills, right? And with advancements in AI by the day, right, it becomes again it becomes necessary for companies to stay ahead of it, right, as I mentioned, just so that the AI model, or probably AI, does not end up replacing the company as a whole. If a company is serving a process, if company is giving a service, and if AI model can do that, probably with marketing agencies, if I talk about, right, if marketing agency, the AI model, if you train the AI model properly, and if you're not staying ahead of the curve, the entire marketing agency can be replaced by probably an AI model, right?
I've heard,
That
and I
is the
think I've
kind
heard
of
a lot
prowess
of those
that may have.
stories as well.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So just to be ahead of the curve, right, even marketing agencies are hiring prompt engineers, because they want to learn what is it that is required to be ahead of the curve, and that can only be done by getting a professional who can help them understand what is something, not what is needed, but how can they do it, right, as a company or as an organization, right? and and just to be ahead with in terms of being ahead of the curve, right? Being ahead of one step ahead of AI, right? The focus on quality has improved a lot, increased a lot, because you can just simply hire a freelance prompt engineer, and you can understand the process, right? But just because it is not something, it is not a one-time process. It is something that where you need to improve by the day, where you have to improve every day, with every little thing changing. So that is the focus on quality improves or increases because of that, right? That is probably the reason prompt engineering is becoming so relevant, right? So critical,
Hmm.
as AI continues to evolve, and these companies are just, I won't say scared will be a wrong word, but they're just concerned, right? That they may end up losing opportunities if AI gets ahead of them, right? Or AI gets the
Yeah.
better of them, right? Yeah.
I
So
think
that's
that
the
is like,
reason.
that is I think a sentiment or a thought of many working professionals as well at this point. Like, even though at
Yeah.
this point many, when I speak to many, they are like, probably that's not going to happen, like AI replacing us will not, is not happening like immediately. But somewhere I think, given how rapidly these tools are developing, right, the kind of
Yeah.
uh, task they can carry out, you never know what will happen in the next couple of years. So let's see, that
Yeah.
depends where it goes. And so I think, with by saying this, you have probably made many people more interested in joining prompt engineering and becoming prompt engineers, because as in, when the use cases are like in abundance at this point. Uh,
Absolutely.
so but if someone wants to start on that path, right, en route becoming a prompt engineer, I think the biggest question will be, where should I start? Like, you have mentioned some of the skills, but where should they start, and how can they build their profile so that they can then start looking
Yeah.
out for these kind of opportunities?
Mm. Okay. So there are a few things, right? There are a few steps that are very necessary when it comes to trying to make a career or get into prompt engineering, right? And to build a strong profile, right? Uh, uh, the first requirement should be develop a strong foundation. And
Hmm.
to develop a strong foundation, learning AI, learning artificial intelligence, and machine learning basics is very important, right? Now, to understand that, it may look like going through the internet or going through a few videos on internet will help you. It may not, right? It may just
Hmm.
give you a broader understanding. You'll need to go slightly deeper. Even to understand the basics, you'll need to go slightly deeper, because AI and ML have multiple branches, multiple verticals where you need to touch at least, right? So for that, there are multiple online courses, right? Not to take any names, but there are multiple courses. You just Google it and you'll find any course. I'm telling you, any course that that says that they can teach AI and ML is good enough, right? Because you are just here to learn the basics. Even if they tell you
Yeah.
that they're teaching you deeply, just have the expectation that they'll touch the basics, right? And that
Okay.
basics is enough for you to develop that strong foundation, right? Now,
Hmm.
understanding AI and ML is one part, right? Understanding NLP is another very important aspect, right? Natural
Yeah.
language processing concepts, right? They're crucial for prompt engineering. And whenever you're learning AI and ML, if you can get a course, right, where you can learn natural language processing or NLP, right? I don't think there is a better course than getting that, right? To probably get a hold of what your foundation needs to be, of what you need to know more, because you will get your uh, vision will broaden as well when you get to an NLP course. You'll know more things that you need to know, right? You'll know more about that. So you'll probably go and you'll be more curious, right? Now, gain relevant skills is another thing that is important. You can simply learn NLP, but after that, your relevant skills as a prompt engineer are very important. Right? One of which is technical writing, as I mentioned. Technical writing is something that you only gain with experience, right? Once you
Hmm.
try and learn, once you write a few things, once you get it curated, or get it probably checked, or get it proofread by someone who has slight experience, because there are a lot of people. You can simply give it to any person who has been a technical writer, because a lot of people these days are simply into technical writing because of this particular thing, that AI and ML are surging, and they may need to shift to this, right, or probably pivot to this domain. So technical writing is one. Data handling is another thing that may sound a little technical, right? uh, so data annotation and curation is something that is one thing that probably only a course or only a mentor will be able to teach you. That is not something that may be able to you may be able to learn on the internet very deeply, right? Tool proficiency comes with the time, but yeah, as I
Yeah.
mentioned, there are multiple freelancing platforms and tools where you can try your hands on different tools that are used in actual prompt engineering jobs and roles, right? Um uh, Even after you have done all these, right, all these, if there's no practical experience, you may end up struggling, right,
Exactly.
at the end of the day. So working on projects is something that I'd suggest. Again, how to find those projects? It is very easy. You can go on simply any platform and look for the keyword prompt engineering. You can look for gen AI, you look for machine learning, you look for NLP or LLM, right? There's large language models. You search these
Correct.
terms,
Yeah.
you will find multiple freelancing opportunities where you can try your hands on prompt engineering projects that do not require your foundation, not require your experience, that simply give you projects to try your hands on. You can try your hands on these projects. Some pay as well, some do not pay. At the end, what is important is gaining that experience, like trying your hands,
Yeah.
if it is for you or not, right? Right. There are entry level opportunities as well as some internships where even if you have no experience at all as a prompt engineer in AI and machine learning, you will, and even not in content writing at all, if you're a fresher, it's your first job at all, to still find a few opportunities where you can gain that experience apart from doing it freelancing, right? Building your profile, trying multiple things in AI, LLM, NLP, or machine learning is something that probably will add to your portfolio, will add to your profile, that you end up getting better opportunities later, because there are again a lot of Indian companies looking for prompt engineers, as well as lot of multinational companies looking for uh, prompt engineers to probably help their processes, right, elevate their processes. So that is one thing. Networking is also important, right? It is not just limited to one job today, or it is not limited to jobs related to only networking with fellow prompt engineers, networking with fellow LLM experts, NLP experts will help you in the course of your journey, looking for, as a or building a profile as a prompt engineer, right? Because at the end of the day, it is a dynamic process, and it is always a possibility that you may not know something that the other person knows, right? So your networking will help you gain better opportunities, learn, right? And lastly, just continuous learning, staying updated, and staying current, right, is what the requirement is. Stay informed with whatever is happening around you in the world of AI and machine learning, right? Even if it sounds like irrelevant news to you about the AI world, just know about it, because you don't know, it may end up helping you in some or the other project, right? So these are the requirements that will help you build your profile, right? Currently, a lot of people are landing jobs using these experiences, these kind of processes, and it will surely help you. It will surely help you get a job, get an opportunity where you can build your career in prompt engineering, because it is going to stay. It is not going to become irrelevant in a year or two. It is going to stay for a really really long time, because Gen AI models are not going anywhere. There's just building, improving. New models are coming up, new opportunities are coming up, new industries are getting into generative AI, new industries are getting into prompt engineering. So there won't be
Particular
a
and
scarcity of jobs. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that's it.
Lovely. I think that was a pretty good roadmap you have given, like from the skills to the project portfolio building and networking. That was a really very robust process you have provided. I think that is something people can definitely feel excited, or like they can. I think now they'll feel more satisfied with this. These are the set of tasks that I can start working on en route getting into prompt engineering. Because anyways, it's like you said, it's not going to be like an overnight journey. Like doing all this stuff is going to take some time, but having that clear roadmap will definitely help all those who are interested. I think that you have really given us a very detailed overview of of prompt engineers and what it takes to become one. So thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for listening to part one of this episode of the Starlight Podium. If you'd like to share your feedback, thoughts for this episode, or ideas regarding any topics you'd like me to explore on this podcast down the road, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Also, stay tuned for the next part of this episode where we'll be exploring LLM models, the driving force behind these generative AI tools, and how they are trained, and how the skill of prompt engineering plays a key role in driving the behavior of these models. That's all from this wonderful episode on the Starlight Podium. Until next time, keep exploring, learning, and shining bright in the world of data. Thank you.